and I will see you on the flip side. Peace.
Alright, ladies and gents, boys and girls, I'm gonna start with a quote from Dr. Dre. If the vibe is not good, I'm the out. So he's saying, if the vibe is not good, I'm the out. And I had to pause this quote quite a few times and think about it. It's from a hip-hop documentary called The Defiant Ones, and I'm using it contextually today because I've gotten a handful of questions from the other gender, from the beautiful ladies who've been watching this YouTube channel, just with general dating questions. Not to say that I'm a relationship expert at all. I've had a failed marriage, I've had a long-term relationship which came to an end, so really the majority of years of my adult life I've spent in long-term relationships, but nonetheless I have prior and in between also done a little bit of dating. But before we're gonna jump into the dating discussion, I wanted to ask a quick favor. If you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so, as I'll be delivering more solo and interview-based content on personal development topics for minorities, and I hope they're helpful to you. So hit the notification bell, subscribe to my channel, and like this video if you got some value out of it. So let's dive right into that. And I'm gonna bring my partner on, Baby Grogu, who's gonna help discuss relationships with us today. Wow! So Grogu, shall we jump right into it? Alright, let's go. So a friend of mine asked me a few weeks ago how she could possibly have a little bit of an easier time dating quality people, right? And so that's where a lot of these thoughts were coming from. She's not a teenager anymore. She has a younger child herself and is a single mom. So that poses an additional set or layer of challenges, because obviously you have to date somebody who is comfortable with being not only your partner, but also as a partner and helping to a certain extent with the kids, right? The question, I think, is general enough to explore dating, really not age related. We're going to talk about dating and some of the things that you can do to make your life easier for all ages, really. I think dating and having a good relationship transcends age, transcends gender, it doesn't matter. The questions that we should be asking ourselves when we are dating, I believe, apply across the board. So then what I've personally learned over the last years and months, especially talking to the other gender, I think is quite interesting. So I'm gonna take a couple of these stories and a couple of the lessons learned into this discussion about discussing relationships today. So we're gonna break down this dating topic then into 6 points. 1, clarity. Know what you want. 2, put it out there. You know, just don't be shy about it. Think about it contextually, right? If you want a long-term relationship, put that out there. If you want something casual, put it out there. Whatever that may be for you, get clarity first, then put it out there. Step 3, check out the vibe, as the good doctor said. 4, boundaries. I think boundaries are super important, and I'll expand on that in a moment. 5, try things out. Grow. What do you say? We need to try things out. And be patient when things don't immediately go your way, right? Avoid knee-jerk reactions, and we'll dive into that as well. And lastly, engage or move on. Number 1, let's talk about clarity. Taking some time when you come out of a relationship and when you're starting to date again, I think is key. Getting clarity about what's important to you in your life. What are the things that you are working on? What are the things that you think are important? Check all of that stuff out. Just because, let's say, we grew up in the US, doesn't mean what the cultural norms dictate then of marriage and white picket fence is right for everybody. I think there's so many different ways to live if we're looking around the world that are neither morally questionable or objectable. They're just different in other countries, right? So find out first of all what you want. Do you want something casual? Do you want a long-term relationship? Find out how you would like to be in a relationship a little bit. Give this some thought, and then be very clear about it, right? Number 2, put it out there. What does that mean? Let's say, part of your dating is online. Now that you have clarity, you can say, I want a long-term relationship, or you can say, I want something more casual, or you can say, I'm really just getting to know people and I'm not sure where I'm at in the journey. Whatever you say is fine, but just be aware of what you want so you don't have anybody else dictating the terms then of your interaction. Another great thing that happens when you put it out there is your friends will be aware of what you're looking for, maybe even your acquaintances. Think about this. In a number of countries around the world, I believe India was one of those countries that still does it to this day, arranged marriages are a huge thing. Now, I'm not trying to say ask your mom and dad to set up a date for you or a relationship, right? But think about that contextually. If you know what you want and you put it out there, your friends, your network can also be a little bit more in tune in helping you out. We teach that in professional networking when you're networking for a job, to communicate that with your closest friends. Have an elevator pitch and then get it out there, right? So you can do the same thing for dating. Get clarity, have an elevator pitch, and without sounding contrived, right? But saying, hey, I'm currently not looking to find the partner of my life, but I'm out here to get to know people and see how they fit in my life, is something that you can easily share with your friends and family. And if you, let's say, are a fit person, then you can let that flow into there as well. I'm looking for a partner who is health conscious because I don't want to have a partner who brings me down or who makes it extra hard for me to stay fit. Just as a simple example, right? Check the vibe. And I think being in tune with the vibe, again, as Dr. Dre said, and here's the backstory. When I watched The Defiant Ones, Dr. Dre has made a lot of decisions in his life that made him a successful musician, producer, and businessman. So if I remember correctly, the question went something like this. Dre, you've had all these things in your life, like ups and downs, adversity. How did you continuously make these good decisions that you end up becoming a billionaire, selling beats to Apple, and doing really, really well? Same thing with your music career, right? And Dr. Dre pauses and says something very simple. He says, if the vibe is not good, I'm the out. Of course, and I think, thinking about it, what is the vibe? It's your gut feel. What's your gut feel? Your gut feel is the sum of your experiences that you have in life and that are mental, right? But they also manifest themselves physically. Anytime you're in a stressful conversation, you might feel that clenching of your gut where you're getting nervous, your palms get sweaty, your heart is racing slightly. So that gut feel, if somebody's not treating you right, maybe they're disrespecting your time, maybe while you're with that person, they're checking out another person or something like that. If that happens more than once, be very in tune with that. Right? Because it would mess up my vibe, and I'm sure it would mess up your vibe too. So then being attuned to your vibe and trusting your vibe rather than intellectually overriding it and saying, well, he did this, but maybe it was just a bad day for him. Or maybe she did this and I think I'm too sensitive, right? What I want you to caution yourself is your gut feel, the vibe that you're getting is a very in tune thing that you have honed over a lifetime. So trust that. Obviously, don't do a knee-jerk reaction. We all have a shitty day. We all have a bad day. So when somebody maybe doesn't respond right away because they had an issue with their car, they had an issue at work, be a little bit kind as well and be aware of that. But if the behavior that, let's say, is irking you persist, trust that your intuition about the vibe is right and decide what you want to do. Over the last few months and also number of years, I've had lengthy discussions with my African American female friends and also acquaintances. And a good number of them have experienced not only verbal abuse, but also physical abuse. That is on the very far side of the spectrum of the vibe not being good. Wouldn't you say, Grogu? Right? So what I mean by that then is physical or verbal abuse are both terrible and they leave scars. Of course, we get into arguments because we may not have a meeting of the mind, and it doesn't even need to be an argument, but it can just be a disagreement. But if somebody is verbally attacking you, it's a bit more of a gradual sliding process that we oftentimes rationalize ourselves out of. I had things happen to me where I would, with my gut, feel I should be the out. However, my rational brain told me these stories of maybe I'm too sensitive, maybe I am too reactive. So what I would do is I would slow things down, take a step back, take a breather, and then talk to some of my most trusted friends and quote unquote advisors to check myself. But oftentimes that gut feeling that I had was a very clear indicator of what I should have done. However, I decided to override it with my rational brain. So let's go back to a case of physical abuse. That to me is probably the clearest form of somebody disrespecting you, right? You have an argument, man, and it gets heated, and next thing you have somebody who maybe shoves you. I've been in that situation once that I've removed myself very quickly out of. Or God forbid, maybe your partner hits you. If that happens, to me, that just clearly means that's disrespectful. And whatever you're thinking at that point in time, I would highly recommend removing yourself from it, talking to your best friends, talking to your family, and saying, this is enough. And there's so many people who, in these situations, as I'm learning, still protecting their partner and saying, oh, I don't want to see another black man in jail. I'm not saying throw your partner in jail, but do remove yourself from the situation, right? It is toxic. It is demeaning, it is disrespectful to you, it doesn't honor you at all. But that is on the far side of the spectrum. So then this vibe or this gut feel, learn how to cultivate it more, because I believe it is the manifestation of your experiences also on a physical level, because your body stores all these things in different organs, like stress, you feel it in the gut or your back, right? So be mindful of the vibe, listen to it. Maybe check yourself if you're thinking you're overreacting with your trusted advisors, but listen to the vibe if you're testing your new romantic interest, right? Know what your boundaries are, right? If that may be sex on the first date, you want to do it, have that boundary. And they start to shame you, right? That may be something where a boundary is crossed. Because if you don't date somebody who will respect that, guess what you have? You're not going to transition into a functioning relationship because the respect is already not there.